My parents planned to leave everything to my disabled brother, so I cut them out of my life. My brother, now 32, has always struggled to find his footing in life. I'll be blunt, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He struggled through school, never went to college, and floundered out of not one, but 2 trade schools. Welding and mechanics weren't his calling, apparently. Now, he works at a gas station and seems content enough, but I can't help but feel a twinge of resentment every time I think about how differently our parents treat us. I'm 24, their younger child, and I've always been the one to figure things out on my own. Our parents always preached independence and earning your own way, refusing to pay for college or even pitch in for big life events. I took that to heart. I joined the military at 17, earned an associate degree while serving, and used my GI Bill to pay for my bachelor's. Now I'm working on my master's degree, and my wife and I have already bought a house and built a stable life for ourselves. But my brother, he got a different deal entirely. Our parents, who were so adamant about not giving handouts, somehow found it in their hearts to fully fund his attempts at trade school. Not once, but twice. They've handed him cash to cover late rent, and loaned him money more times than I can count. To them, it seems he's just a late bloomer. To me, he's cosplaying as an adult while they enable him at every turn. What stings the most isn't the money itself. I never expected financial help. It's the blatant disparity in how they've treated us. My achievements, my hard work, were met with a pat on the back and a good job, kid, while my brother's failures are met with open wallets and endless patience. And now, with our parents in their 60s and their health deteriorating, they've made it clear how they plan to handle their legacy. They recently told us they're leaving almost everything to my brother in their will. Their reasoning: he needs their support, even after they're gone. Meanwhile, they want me to be their medical power of attorney and manage their estate when the time comes. When they told me this, something inside me snapped. I told them to give my brother everything. The inheritance, the responsibilities, all of it. I'm done. They called me heartless, told me to have some grace, and reminded me that my brother isn't as capable as I am. I couldn't believe their audacity. They raised me to fend for myself, and now they expect me to pick up the pieces they're leaving behind for someone who's never been held accountable for anything. No, thank you. This morning, my mother had a doctor's appointment and asked me for a ride since she can't drive herself anymore. My response was simple: ask your favorite child or call an Uber. I know it was harsh, but I'm tired of being the one who's expected to give while getting nothing in return. The tension in the family has been thick enough to cut with a knife. Amidst all the chaos, my brother called me, his voice uncharacteristically soft, almost hesitant. I'm sorry, he said, and I could hear the weight of guilt he was carrying. Please, don't be mad at me. I sighed, trying to keep my emotions in check. I'm not mad at you, I told him firmly. This isn't your fault. You didn't create this situation. Our parents did. I paused, wanting to make sure he understood. I'm angry at them for treating us so differently, for always putting you first while expecting me to fend for myself. You didn't do anything wrong. This isn't about you. He was quiet on the other end of the line, and for a moment, I thought he might argue. But he didn't. Instead, he just muttered a quiet, "Thank you," before the call ended. As much as I wanted to be furious at someone, I couldn't place that blame on him. My anger wasn't with my brother. It was with the system of favoritism that had always stacked the odds against me. My brother isn't disabled. He's just limited. His IQ hovers just above 80, high enough to disqualify him from benefits where we live, but low enough that he's always struggled to keep up. From a young age, my parents coddled him. They treated him like he was fragile, quick to shield him from anything that might bruise his self-esteem. If something seemed hard, he'd give up, and they'd let him. But the thing is, he's capable. He holds down a job, pays most of his bills, drives, and shares an apartment with a roommate. He's not helpless, just enabled. My parents, however, never extended that grace to me. When my wife and I got married, I didn't expect them to pay for the wedding. But showing up empty-handed, that was a slap in the face. I've been to plenty of weddings, and I would never show up without a gift. It's just rude. What made it worse was that my in-laws covered the entire wedding, which turned my parents' stinginess into a major talking point among the guests. It was humiliating, and I'll never forget the embarrassment of having to explain why my own parents didn't contribute a dime. I recently sat down with my parents, determined to have a real conversation about the blatant disparity in how they've treated us. I laid it all out. How they constantly emphasized that I had to support myself as an adult. How I joined the military at 17 because I knew they'd push me out at 18. How they never offered support beyond the bare minimum of raising me as a child. They didn't help with college, didn't buy my wife and me a wedding gift, didn't offer anything. Meanwhile, they brag about having over $1 million in savings, built from nothing. And yet, for my brother, they've always opened their wallets. 2 rounds of trade school he failed out of, money to start a business that never got off the ground, countless bailouts for late rent. It's not even about the money for me. It's about the clear message they cared more for him. They showed their love through actions, and those actions didn't extend to me. As I tried to explain all this, they interrupted me at every turn, brushing off my feelings like they didn't matter. They told me I wasn't entitled to a dime of their inheritance, that I'm an adult and should be able to handle myself. Their complete lack of understanding or empathy was staggering. They flipped the script, accusing me of being wrong for not helping my mother with her doctor appointments, or offering to take care of her. The thing is, I don't hate my brother. He's not a terrible guy. He just makes bad choices sometimes. But at the end of the day, he's still my older brother, and he tries to be good to me. I couldn't cut him off without a good reason, and this isn't his fault. He didn't ask to be put on a pedestal by our parents. My anger isn't with him. It's with the dynamic they've created, one that's left me feeling like an afterthought my entire life. Eventually, I realized there was no point in trying to get through to them. They didn't care about my feelings, so I told them the truth. I'm done. I told them to remove me entirely from their will. I won't be their estate executor, their medical power of attorney, or anything else. I don't want their money. They should spend it all on top-tier nursing homes and hire someone else to handle their estate because I'm done. My mother's jaw dropped. "Would you really put your own parents in a nursing home?" she asked, her voice shaking. I stared back at her and said, "Would you really let your 17-year-old daughter join the military, knowing she'd be harassed by older men, just to avoid going into debt for school?" That hit them hard. They yelled, they cried, but I didn't stick around. I walked out, leaving behind years of frustration and unmet expectations. Walking out of that house felt like shedding a weight I'd been carrying my entire life. I felt relief, a kind of freedom I hadn't realized I needed. I have a wife who loves me, a stable home, and a promising future. Soon, I'll start my master's degree, and we're even thinking about having a baby. As for my parents, they can figure out their own lives, just as I had to figure out mine. Sometimes, the people who should love us the most are the ones who wound us the deepest. Letting go of them isn't easy, but it's often the only way to protect your peace. We can't rewrite the past, but we can decide how much of it we carry into the future. For me, the choice is clear. I'm moving on. This journey has taught me a lesson I'll hold on to forever. I have the right to prioritize my well-being, to say no when things aren't fair, and to demand the same respect I give to others. Family should never mean accepting inequality or feeling like less. If it does, the best thing you can do is step back and reclaim your life. I'm moving forward now, focused on my wife, our dreams, and the future we're building together. Letting go of the hurt hasn't been easy, but it's been the right choice. I deserve love and respect, not just from others, but from myself too. That's the lesson I'm carrying with me, and it's one I'll never let go of again.